Hello to the inaugural recording of Friends Drinking Beer. Currently, our subtitle might be Guess Which One of Us is the Snob?
Couldn't be me. I don't look snobbish.
Well, time will tell. Time will tell. All right, so what's the date today? It's sometime in December. There's a Christmas tree in the back, and we have a little Santa joining us on the bar.
8 days from my birthday, so that means it's the 10th.
The 10th? Okay, right. December 10th. So this may not be out before Christmas because, once again, inaugural, but we'll see, and we'll hope. So because it's the almost winter, we figured we'd start with dark, lovely, tasty beers that you really just want to drink when it's cold and rainy.
Right.
And you want to be warm inside.
And you're not going anywhere.
Correct. Right. Oh my gosh. What's the alcohol content? La la la. I cannot tell.
Island Rhino Suit is 12.2 ABV.
Okay. And this is straight up Rhino Suit, 12.6. So we are drinking I guess we should tell them where we are. We are in Oregon on the west side of the Cascades. And Alesong is a Eugene-based brewery that we both love.
Farmhouse style.
Yep. And they age everything. So their dark beers we tend to really enjoy because they're so complex. They have so much flavor.
Right.
And I guess we're both snobs on this one because we love them so much. So we're looking at these beers through a lens of we already like the beers way more than somebody who's never tasted them.
Love.
Love.
It's deeper than like. It's love.
Okay. So we are going to I'll open the Rhino Suit. You'll open the Island. We're going to struggle here for a second because they have this lovely gold paper on them. Or we can just be not snobby about it and just bypass and use the bottle opener. Okay. So mine still has paper on it because I was too impatient. And Keith took the paper off. See, he didn't struggle. I did. All right. We are going to pour them into these lovely, lovely glasses. And we could talk for hours on glasses alone. Once again, is it a snobby or a not snobby thing to do? Drink in different glass shapes and sizes. All righty. Wow. Well, we know who's really happy to be drinking this beer.
What?
Look how much more you poured in than me.
This is a taster.
I would say mine's a taster. Yours is a full pour up to the line.
Some tastes are bigger than others.
Okay. So, the Rhino Suit is an imperial milk stout aged in bourbon barrels. Alesong makes the Rhino Suit base and then adds different flavors to it in different years. So what you're getting here is just a straight up nice dark beer that has those lovely warm bourbon flavors. And you're drinking?
I'm drinking Island Rhino Suit. And it's Island Rhino takes the smooth and chocolatey stout that you know and love and ups the tropical ante with a year of aging in freshly emptied rum barrels from Barbados and a hefty dose of toasted coconut. So let's take you to tropical paradise during the long, cold Northwest winter. I didn't make that up. That's what it actually says on it.
Now, Keith, I guess we never introduced ourselves. Oh my gosh, we're terrible hosts. I'm Lisa. This is Keith. We're friends who drink beer. Keith has been to the tropics more recently than I have. Oh my gosh, I think the farthest south I have gone in the last year is San Francisco, and I wouldn't count that as the tropics.
No, it isn't.
Did you go to Mexico?
Yeah.
Where in Mexico?
I think the last time it was Cabo. Cabo.
Are there coconuts in Cabo?
Not that I saw, but I'm sure you can get a coconut.
Okay, well, let's pretend we're in Hawaii for this one. All right. Such a lovely smell. I haven't tasted it. It's just a lovely smell.
Mm. What year was yours? Was that the most recent?
This is the 2023. Okay.
This is 2023. This is Alesong's latest release.
Right. And I think they released this obviously in 2023, but a couple months before they released the Island.
Right.
So Island is probably available. Sadly, some of the beers we're going to be drinking, you can't get them anymore because they're so local, or they're not one-offs, but they're limited releases.
Right.
That being said, what we're trying to encourage you to do is find beers locally that you love and drink them and enjoy them.
With friends.
Well, we might not be friends at the end of this because we might be arguing, but that's the fun of it and the joy, right? Okay, and what Keith alluded to is some people drink their beer, right? You should. That's
Right.
what it's here for, is to drink. Some people squirrel it away, or, as in a case of one of the beers I'm going to show you, completely forgot that I even had it.
That's code for aging.
Yeah, code for aging. So I don't know when Alesong started. 2016? Anyway.
Yeah.
We'll put that in the notes. And we'll also put a
2015.
link to Alesong so you can read about the lovely people who own it and work there. But yeah, 2016 is probably safe to say. All right. So in my wanderings, I found a Rhino Suit 2023. And, oh, I guess this isn't a Rhino Suit. This
Senior
is
Rhino.
Senior Rhino.
Which is my favorite Rhino Suit.
Yes. So this is an Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels. See, same base, with cinnamon, cocoa, vanilla, and ancho chilies. This is a fabulous beer. But this they released in 2022. And then I went mucking around, and here's the really one, the old one. This is an original Rhino Suit, and this one is from 2022 also. But where's my 20? Oh, and then this one, 2020. So I have 23, 22, and 20 of the original Rhino Suits.
And if you ask the crew from Alesong, they will tell you that, like, it's ready, you know, they age it, so it's ready to drink when they release it. But there's some people who have the discipline to actually age beer for like 1 year, 2 years, even 3 years. And when they crack it open, it tastes even better. With me, if it tastes good, I'm going to drink it. So I don't have the discipline that she has, or those of you who can age beers like, hey, Keith, it's 2024. Let's bust out that 2020. I'll help you drink it. I will marvel at how, like, you know, how more complex the flavor is and develop. But if it's good, I'm drinking it.
Yeah, I get it. Every once in a while, Keith hands one of his friends a bottle and has them squirrel it away for him, because
I need help.
some of us have discipline in some areas and some of us don't have discipline. It's fine. It's all good. That being said, we are lucky to be living in an age where there's just so much good beer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's everywhere. And that's a good thing to me. So we're just going to keep drinking good beer. The next thing we need to figure out is how long we want these videos to be. You guys will probably tell us. So do we sit here and drink the whole bottle? Are you guys willing to sit here with us as we drink the whole bottle?
Just ponder and drink.
Yeah.
With friends.
I know. It's so... And the other thing that I really, you know, once again, who's the snob and who isn't? If a brewery or somebody working at the brewery recommends that I must drink the beer at a certain temperature, while I do understand that some beers are made to be, the flavor comes through at that temperature, I'm always curious. So if they say, oh, you have to drink this really, really cold, I'll let it sit on the counter for an hour and warm up and then taste it as well. Because if it doesn't hold up at a broader range of temperature, I'm a little leery of why. Right. And that there's something, what's happening. And most of the time, yeah, it's fine. It holds up. And I think that's a sign of a really good beer, that, yes, we recommend you drink it at this temperature, but then if you also hold it in your hands and warm it up like bourbon, a different set of flavors and aromas are going to come out. So it just extends the experience and makes it much more fun at different temperatures.
See, now I would call that dignified. I wouldn't call that snobby.
Oh, dignified. Okay.
So while we're on the subject of dark beer, and it's kind of stout season, it's kind of dark beer season because it's winter's coming up. Winter is coming. I couldn't help it. That's the geek in me.
It's all good.
So when Lisa was talking about, like, whether a beer is warm or cold, the great thing about stouts, especially bourbon barrel aged stouts, is because they're the higher alcohol volume, people aren't going to drink it like a lager, like, oh, drink it like it's going to town. You're going to drink it slower. You're going to sip it, it's going to sit out there, which for most people who are drinking beer like in the summer, it's like, no, don't let it sit there. So you get too warm, you're not going to like it. With this, we start cold, but it's only going to get better when you let it warm up. So you don't have to be in a hurry to drink this. And as it gets a little bit warmer over time, the flavor will change, how it smells will change, all that, but it's still good.
It's all good. Now, if you decide you like your beer at a certain temperature, voila. They now make adult sippy cups for alcohol so that your beer will stay at a cooler temperature or at a more sustained temperature with something like this. Now,
Hydro Flask are the best.
I don't know if this is what it is. But anyway, this is another option as well. Also, I've had a lot of my fine stem ware broken. You tip this over. Yes, I believe that anytime beer is poured out of a glass, not intentionally, it is called alcohol abuse. But this will help if you tip it over. Hopefully you won't lose too much of it. So, oh my gosh, we're going to have to make an entire list of snob, not snob, and what was the word you just used? Dignified?
Dignified.
Oh my gosh. Most non-dignified human on the planet here. So, because what do? I open a beer. I stick it uncorked back in the fridge, drink it, go back and pour more. Every once in a while I have gone back to the fridge the next morning going, oh dear, talk about alcohol abuse. I didn't finish it.
Right.
Because once again, you can start this, mid-afternoon happy hour and sip it and still be sipping it through dinner.
Yeah, it's still going to be good.
It's not a chug-a-lug beer. I love chug-a-lug beers. This is not one of them.
Right. You want to take your time and enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the summer we'll be drinking some chug-a-lug beers. That's another thing we're going to have to figure out. Can you tell when we're tipsy on video?
I know. Do you go by slurred words? Do you go by you're laughing at everything? You're literally laughing at anything. You're laughing at things that nobody else is laughing at. You might be tipsy.
Well, and then we might have to submit it to Drunk History, right? Which is an awesome, wow.
Start telling everybody you love them.
Yes, or start talking about the Roman Empire, because apparently that's what men think about is the Roman Empire. And do they really think about it when they start getting drunk?
All these more interesting questions.
No, we're not tipsy. We're just laughing at ourselves because we're dumb. No, we're not. We're not dumb. We're just silly. That's a better adjective.
No, there's a challenge. We also need to come up with your definition of what constitutes a beer snob.
Yeah.
See, I personally think in Oregon, there are more wine snobs than there's beer snobs. Because and people say, like, Keith, how do you define a beer snob? I said, a beer snob isn't somebody who says, like, hey, here's the type of beer I like, here's what I drink, I'm not going to judge yours, da-da-da-da. To me, a beer snob is like, there's like, oh, I'm not drinking that, I'm not drinking that, I'm not drinking that, I'm above that. That, to me, is beer snob. See, with me, if I walk into somebody's house and it's hot and somebody goes like, hey, you want a beer? And they hand me like a Rolling Rock or a Busch Light. I'm hot and I'm thirsty and that's a beer. I'm not going to go like, are you kidding me? I'm from Eugene, Oregon. We're above that. Give me a craft beer instead. Like, no, like exactly this room, this temperature and stuff like that. I'm going to appreciate a beer. And the crew at Alesong, sometimes they're like, yeah, sometimes you just want a beer, just a beer. So I think when somebody says like snob I think if you're one of those people like, yeah, I'll drink any kind of beer if, as long as it's good. I mean, you want something that tastes good because we know entirely too many people are like, I only drink IPAs and IPAs are the best. And there's only one kind of beer. I mean, and to me, I wouldn't even call them snobs. I just call them morons. One-dimensional. Just because,
They've narrowed their lane so much. They're not willing to experiment.
Right.
And
it just tastes good.
Right. And a snob is someone who's found their niche and has to create their story to make everything else not in the niche wrong or bad.
Right. That's the thing.
And so a snob, to me, very narrowly defines their existence. I personally do not like some types of beer. For the moment, I will not tell you which ones they are. That being said, I continue to taste them. because you never know. There might be one in that line style of beer that one day I'll point to it and say, oh, that I get that. I understand that. Let me tell you a story. I had no upbringing in alcohol whatsoever. Mom and dad were not big drinkers. They didn't have a bar in the house. I didn't do the typical, get drunk on dad and mom and dad's liquor when I was young. None of that. So I was introduced to alcohol right about legal drinking age, but then didn't know anything and didn't have any. And about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I had a group of friends, and a few of them were very knowledgeable about wine. I know nothing about wine. Sweet wine was about the only Gewürztraminer, which got a bad rap, but there are some really, really good Gewürztraminers out there now. They tend to be slightly drier, not as sweet, but they're still in that same style where they tend to be a sweeter wine. So that was where my palate for wine was. And we went up to Sonoma and Napa for a weekend and walked into a winery. It was Ridge Winery. And the young person behind the bar said, you have a number of members here, so it was all girls, you folks can taste anything on the wall. So my very knowledgeable friend, who is a member, said we would like to taste this, 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 and this. None of it meant anything to me. I don't remember the names. I don't remember the years, nothing, because I'm not a wine person. And she handed me a glass of wine and said, taste this. I tasted it, and my eyes popped open, and I get it. This is the first red wine that I've ever tasted that tasted good. Turns out it's a $250 bottle of wine. It's been aged for a couple of years, and it was a very well-made wine. I'd been drinking not so well-made wine on the few times that I've had wine. From that moment on, I was a fan of Ridge. I always knew what wine to buy at anybody. I know Ridge is good, and I will forever be a Ridge fan. And while
what kind of wine was it?
It was a red, and don't ask me what kind of red. There's so many kinds.
A Cab or Merlot or
it was probably a Cabernet. It was probably because they did very good Cabernets. So, but I think that's the same thing with beer, where your introduction to it might be when you're very young. All you want to do is get drunk. You're getting drunk on something that is fine, but then you never learn if no one tells you or teaches you or shows you that there might be something else.
So if your ceiling is Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill,
right?
So it gives you a good wine.
There you go.
I just dated myself.
Yeah, because nobody under the age of 50 knows that. But anyway, so that's the way I realized wine is fine. I'm never going to become a wine person. I like the style of beer better than the style of wine. I like the fizziness. I like the effervescence, and I like and I've had wine people tell me that I'm completely wrong. I said, well, there's only two kinds of wine, white and red. Once again, now I'm sounding like a wine snob because I've narrowed my lanes, so there's only two types. There aren't, and I understand that. But to me, the variety of beer and the experimentation in beer can go farther than what they can.
Oh, I think so too.
You can't. The additives and the aging can be, and wine. Once again, no shade on wine. Wine is lovely. It's just I like the funness of beer. Probably is the way to say it.
And we've tasted beer that is aged in wine barrels
and mixed with wine grapes because once again. We will be reviewing more Alesong later, and in the summer, they will come out with their wine beer hybrids that are amazing. They've done Pinot Noir, they've done Chardonnay, they've done so many wine beer hybrids that are fun and lovely, and the grape flavor adds just a whole new dimension to the beer itself. So,
and occasionally they'll come up with one, and people say, "Oh, do you like it?" I like it, but I go, "This is going to be a converter beer," and people are like,
"Pour me smiling, please."
they're like, what do you mean by converter beer? Those people are like, ugh, I don't like beer. I drink wine and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, you've probably never been to a farmhouse style brewery. And with one that's aged in wine barrels, I'm just like, this is something that you would have like with a steak. It's that good and stuff like that. I'm like, I want to try this on one of those people. Let's call them wine snobs. They're like, I don't drink beer. Ugh. They probably never even had a good beer anyway. They probably, somebody handed them some really dank double IPA. They're like, all beer tastes like that, without starting them off with something like a, really light Pilsner or something like that. And so what I like to call these conversion beers, like if somebody likes wine, they're going to like this. And they'd be like, oh, that's wonderful. What kind of wine is it? Like, no, it's a beer. Oh, I don't like beer. Well, you just like what you had. So that gets rid of that snobbery.
Well, and that's another way to approach people and to get people. I am not a hard spirits. I don't really understand them. I don't get past the alcohol flavor. That being said, I've been living with someone who drinks tequila for 30 years. When I drink a hard spirit, I drink tequila because I understand it. I know it. I've been drinking it off and on and slowly for 30 years. So I understand it a bit more. So you really need to take some time and ask somebody, what's your favorite flavor? Do you like fruity? Do you like things that are heavier? Do you like, and I am totally showing my ignorance here. People ask me if it's hoppy or malty. I have no idea. I don't know the difference. I don't know anything about, I know I'm so showing my ignorance on this. But once again, you can love something and not understand behind the curtain. And maybe through this, I will learn the difference between hoppy and malty. But to ask somebody and meet them in a space that they like. So yes, you're totally right. I love wine. Okay, let me hand you a wine beer hybrid. I love bourbon. Ho, ho, ho.
Bourbon aged.
Oh my gosh. Find a really nice, really warm, lovely bourbon aged beer and say, here, this might be a way to expand your palate. We have no interest in converting people. You can like wine, you can like hard spirits, you can like beer. All we're interested in is make it fun, experiment, go beyond your alley. Don't be a snob. But yet, that being said, we're still snobs.
I don't think so. So
this is going to be an argument.
She wanted to protect people's feelings. Like I'm not about that. Your feelings are going to be hurt. So I get pigeonholed into like hating all IPAs. It's like, no, I don't hate all IPAs. I don't like beer that tastes bad. So for all of you, IPA is the only beer, and that's the only thing I'm going to drink. Everything else is just like that. I'm just like, hey, I can tell you why. It's the bitterness. It's the bitterness that I don't like. I don't like overly bitter beer. If you're going to drink beer, especially in a mecca like here, we have the best craft beer, it should be good. You should never have to settle for like, this is substandard. And like IPA drinkers, they say like, oh, I love IPAs. Watch their face. The first time they have their, they'll drink their beer and they're like, oh yeah, that's awesome. But nobody ever makes that face when something's awesome. You don't think this is my favorite dish to eat?
Disagree.
What? It's the bitterness.
I love citrus. I drank a limoncello cider the other day that made me do, because it's lemon, but I love it so much. So I have to disagree with you on that take, because if they love that bitterness and they love that reaction to it, you got to give it to them.
That's a strange face to make.
That's true, but it may be exactly what they want.
Anyway, but like Lisa said, I will branch out. And so I do have in my book of beer, one of these times I'm going to have to bring my book of beer to this, put in there like those beers that wowed me. There's some IPAs in my book of beer, and you have to have the best beer to make the book. And the thing is, I'm not a snob, because if I were a snob, I'd say like, no IPA will ever make the book. But like, there's IPAs that can taste good. So like, I was at a brew festival when you said when you're talking about like, I don't know what hoppy and malty is and stuff like that. And I'm having, you just meet strangers at a brew fest. And then so I'm sitting there, I'm the nerd making notes and stuff. Like, I gotta remember this because I'm drinking. So I'm not even remember like, that was good. That one over there, that was pretty good. Oh no, they're all awesome. That's a sign that you're intoxicated. They're not all awesome. So this couple comes over to me and they said like, hey, we see you taking notes there. And said, like, yeah, I got to remember and everything like that. And the husband got really excited, go like, you got to check out this IPA over there. And I'm just like, oh, here we go. He liked an IPA, therefore everybody has to take an IPA. And so I start to explain to them, short version of the story, is just like, hey, I'm not really a fan of a bunch of IPAs because they're just too hoppy for me. This will be the explanation. It's a hoppy. Somebody taps me on the shoulder. Now I'm there by myself, so I'm like, who's this random stranger tapping me on the shoulder? I turn around. There's some guy I've never met before, never seen before, and he says to me, you shouldn't say that they're too hoppy. I look at the couple looks at me going like, what's happening here? Is this an episode of Punk? And he goes, what you're talking about is the International Bitterness Unit. And he goes on to explain that like all beer has hops in it and and the brewing process and the temperature and stuff like that. So it's the bitterness that you don't like in IPAs, but they can be balanced by malts. And like, I'm sitting there and like, I'm the kind of person who goes like, go on. Like I'm learning. I'm like, oh, teach me, oh, wise one. I'm drinking, so this has got to be good if I'm ever going to remember it. But so I'm just like, wow, this guy really knows what he's talking about. And I go, I've never had such an in-depth explanation of hops and bitterness and the IBUs. I knew what IBUs were, but like, I had it down to the measurement and stuff like that. And so he goes, so what you should really say is you don't like the bitterness of IPAs. I said, okay, thank you. So I turn around and the two ladies at the booth report, they're laughing their ass off. Something like I knew I was getting punked or something like that. And I go, do you guys know him? And they're like, yeah, he's the main brewer. He's the lead brewer. I'm just like, oh, so that's how I knew all this stuff. So you'll never again, because that was a teachable moment. Hear me say that something is too hoppy and stuff like that. But that's why I learned, like, oh, okay, which explains why. And there are IPs that I like a Dogfish Head 120-minute IPA. Yeah, in fact, I brought that up. I go, why do I like it? And he explained to me the time that they're burning it off. That's why if you have a Dogfish Head 60-minute IPA and the Dogfish Head 120-minute IPA that I like, they're going to taste different. The 60-minute or the 30-minute is going to be a lot bitter, like your typical IPA, because after 30 minutes, they quit cooking it or whatever like that. Well, 120 minutes, they do the maximum cooking off the bitterness, and then that's why it's harder to get. You can't find Dogfish Head a 120-minute IPA, which I would drink, and I would film myself saying, here's the IPA, it says IPA, and here's me, I'm like, I love it. So I don't get pigeonholed and hating off IPA. So that was one of those teachable moments that when somebody says like, oh, it's too hoppy, and I don't correct people though. I'm like, you can call it hoppy, that's fine.
You can do whatever you want.
And I was drinking. I don't remember everything he said.
You just reminded me. Once upon a time, there were it was a husband and wife, and they wrote a wine column in the New York Times or the Washington Post, and every once in a while they would be on television, and they always tasted their wine with a brown bag over it. So they never knew what they were tasting. And once again, young, early 20s, I had no interest in wine at that time, but what I was very interested in was their leveling of the playing field, because they had no idea what they were drinking. And I think that also is a part of experimentation. I believe that, a learning man is alive, a learning person is alive, a learned person is dead. There's always something to learn. There's always something anywhere in any aspect of anything that you're interested or even not interested in. There's, quote, what you just said, teachable moments. But not knowing what you're tasting sometimes takes out those preconceived notions. Takes out that I'm already adverse to what I'm going to taste. And, oh my gosh, we can spend hours talking about how I'm tasting one thing, you're tasting another. Right? Nobody knows what they're tasting. You have to educate yourself. You have to understand and learn and really pay attention to what you like, what you don't like. That being said, I would love to taste Dogfish 120 minute. I never have. And I may spit it out. But I don't know that until I try it. So,
Right.
and that's what, friends drinking beer is all about is, yes, are we snobby or are we not snobby? Yeah, it's kind of beside the point. Are we happy to help you and ask you to experiment? Absolutely.
Right.
So, that being said, Alesong, oh my gosh. Thank you for making all the rhino suits and all the rhino suit variations, because honestly, there isn't one I haven't liked. Which could be construed as snobby.
I see what you did there. You just set me up to be the snob, because I love rhino suit, but I could rank them. And so
okay, go.
It has to do with flavor. Like I'm gonna be blaspheming for people here. Like I don't drink coffee. Okay. I know everybody else drinks coffee and eats tomatoes.
I didn't mention coffee, because was coffee a rhino suit base?
For a couple of them.
So the coffee, the one that came out 2 years ago,
the one with the K.
Yes.
K coffee. Yeah,
K
totally coffee.
Was that a rhino suit base?
Yeah.
Okay. That is the only beer that I did not finish the taster, and I never bought a bottle of it.
Right.
The coffee flavor is one of the flavor profiles that I'm not a fan of. And I can tell you why. Mom and Dad would sit in the kitchen every morning of my young childhood, smoke a cigarette, and drink a cup of coffee.
Oh, so the association, you're like, ugh.
Together, the smells were terrible. So, to this day, never smoked a cigarette because I can't stand the smell, and don't like coffee. Can't stand the smell. So, it's, once again, it's one of those things where I tried it because why not? Maybe I've changed. Kids who won't eat avocado when they're kids, all of a sudden are eating it.
As adults, right?
As adults yeah. So I tried it, and it turns out, no, coffee's still just not a flavor profile I like. That being said, they come out with another coffee-based one. I'll try. It's all fine to try. And it's also fine to swish and spit. Taste it, spit it out. It's fine. It's a wine thing.
Things I've never done is with a beer. See? Not a snob.
Okay. No. I will own my snobbiness on that one, because especially at a festival, right? There are, let's say,
God, I just lied.
40 beers.
I just lied. I have poured one out at a festival because it was horrible. Because
there are so many to taste, and we want to taste. So let's tiny little bit go through it. The ones that because there's just so much.
Right.
And if there's one that you don't like, move on. Spit it out and move on, because
and give it a minus.
Sadly,
if you're taking notes.
Sadly, drinking wine, drinking beer, drinking hard spirits, drinking all these other ciders, and now all the White Claws or whatever those are. The goal that you get drunk, and you now are not contrasting and comparing. So we really do have to know that, yes, you do have a tolerance. Also, please don't drink and drive. Get a designated driver. Oh my gosh, can I tell you the funniest story? So I live out, both of us live in rural Oregon, and drunk driving is a very, very big issue. So the other day, I was driving on a side road, and the stop sign that I was coming up to was then onto a highway. I came around the corner, and there was a traffic incident truck with its lights flashing, and then a state trooper vehicle as well with their lights flashing. And then right past them, there was the white pickup truck tilted into the ditch with the stop sign cattywampus. So there was nobody behind me, and the trooper and the incident dude were both standing there. So I stopped, and I rolled down my passenger window, made an absolute assumption when I said the question, is he okay?
Ooh.
The assumption turned out to be correct. And the trooper said, yeah, he's fine. Just drunk. Happy holidays. Because this was 2 days before Thanksgiving. So, yeah, don't. And sadly, when you get drunk, you think you can do it all, right? So, especially in rural areas where we want to congregate with our friends to drink the alcohol that is so tasty, it does alter our abilities and our perceptions, and we have to know that and acknowledge that. So,
2 questions. Was it a Ford, and did he drink IPAs? I know. Out of context. I'm the worst. It's December, though. I can do what I want.
way to make assumptions, you asshole. All I know is that it was white. Yeah, sorry, don't know.
I didn't ask that, though.
Oh my god! The truck was white! Oh my gosh!
I was talking about the truck. What were you talking about?
Yeah, right, sure. Cheers, black asshole.
I was talking about the color of the truck.
Way to set me up.
I know. It's funny.
Okay, friends. Seriously. What the hell? I guess we're going to have to put because we swear on this. Or I swear. Keith has yet to swear. Lisa swears.
If the kids were watching this, bad parents. Bad.
No. I see, once again, we're going to disagree through the whole thing.
That's right. Kids swear worse than we do anyway.
I completely disagree with the way kids are introduced to alcohol. My nieces, who are living overseas, were introduced to alcohol very, very young. Because in Europe, children drink watered wine.
Yeah, they drink wine.
So when they start showing an interest in what mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles are drinking, a few drops of wine, red wine, are poured into their water to color it a bit so that they feel like they are involved and they are having the same thing. And as they get older, a few more drops, so by the time they're teenagers, they are drinking almost, regular, quote, regular wine. And that being said, all of my nieces at this point have a fairly adult, what we would call adult. They know what drunk means. They know that having a glass of wine with dinner is a tradition that they can partake in. And, doing what sadly a lot of kids that aren't introduced to it as something normal. How many shots do I have to drink to get drunk? And of course it's, well, one will do it, but no, you have to have 10 or something, right? So no, I really, really believe that the introduction to alcohol for children needs to start when they are children. Yeah. And let them have it, let them have a few drops, let them have a taste. 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, oh my God, what the hell? This is disgusting. And not ask for it again. Fine. Now the mystery is gone. The mystery is gone. And they don't. And then when they want to know it again, I think it should be something that's done in the household and understood that, hey, this is something that you need to know for yourself what it can do. And if you are going to get drunk, please do it in the house. Please don't do it someplace else. So, yeah, right. I have children watch this video.
Yeah,
understand that if you drink this at the age of 10, you're going to hate it. It's gross. It's disgusting. Give your palate a couple of years.
Well, I asked my parents when I was older, I'm like, did I ever taste beer? And my dad was like, yeah. Well, you're big enough to walk and stuff like that. And you saw me when I was drinking, stuff like that. So I said, give him a little taste. And your mom was fine with it and stuff like that. And you did a little, and then you started reaching for it again. So I love beer from the start.
The seed was set young.
No, I'm joking. I did. I love beer. But like culturally, it's true. I remember in high school, I think it was like in Spanish class, and we had a exchange student, and I think they were from, and we weren't from Mexico. It was something like Ecuador or something like that, and so teenagers are curious and stuff like that, and they're like, "Oh, tell us all about your culture." I'm like, "And you can drink, right? You can drink, right?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, kids can drink and stuff like that." And they go to like the well, not tequileria, but like the bar and stuff like that. But they go, and he could tell that like it was that teenage excitement, like, oh my God, we're not allowed to drink here, like, but you can drink and stuff like that. Everybody's just like, but yeah, you can, but it's actually seen as disrespectful to get drunk and be seen drunk in public. So if you're a teenager going like, let's party, he goes, oh, it wasn't like that in the culture. It's like you could have alcohol because you could have alcohol, it wasn't hip to like, oh, we're sneaking it, we're being rebellious, and now let's drink all the alcohol and stuff like that. So like you would be shaming your family if you were caught drunk. So it was no big deal. And like Lisa was saying, like you're given it at an early age, and so you're less likely to overindulge.
There's no mystery.
Right.
There's no, this is something to do to get into trouble.
Right.
You're not going to rebel using alcohol if you know what it is. So, that being said, I'm going to swear too, because kids know when to swear and when not to swear. I'm sorry if your child says the word fuck in the checkout counter at the grocery store, but it's not like nobody's heard it before.
That's true.
As long as they're not drunk when they say it.
Yeah.
I guess it's okay.
They're at Thanksgiving. Hey, Grandma, can you pass the fucking potatoes? Then it's gone too far.
Code switching, right? That's the buzzword about how we react, or not react, but act in different situations.
Say, oh, but at least they said please.
Yeah, you gotta give them that. Okay, I have no idea. Oh, because my husband told me to take my watch off. So I have no idea how much time has passed.
Didn't that say like 41 minutes? Have we been talking for...
Oh my, 41 minutes. So the beer has warmed up. I'm drinking the original wino. I'm a wino.
I'm taking her keys.
Okay, I am not.
We're at her house, so she's not driving.
Yes, welcome to my house. And, feel free to ask questions about what you see in the background, because I have no idea what you're seeing in the background. It's
can you
a little
see the tree?
Small. Well, you can see
I'm in
that.
the way.
Oh, there's the Christmas tree. And then above Key's head is the Halloween tree, which is on permanent display because my husband and I were married on Halloween. And we enjoy the...
I just noticed the Halloween tree.
Yeah. Notice it. You've been here forever. It's been there for years. It's all the decor is Halloween. Cute little black hats. It says boo and spooky. And boo and spooky. And, okay, totally off the topic of beer. 1,000 years ago, I am 1,000 years old. My mother...
You look great.
Thank you. For 1,000 years? Wow. No work. My mom handed me this box. And I opened the box, and it's they're so beautiful. They're candy corns. Ornaments, and they're glass.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they're gorgeous. And I have... You're going to meet Venus, a friend of ours who also loves beer. So she will definitely be a guest on this show. She taught me all about reverse image searching.
Oh, image. Okay.
Yeah, so okay. We're segueing all through things. Speaking of wine, I was gifted beautiful wine glasses 26 years ago for my wedding. And over the years, they've broken because, people use the wine glasses. And I've done searches over the years to try to replace them. Venus found them in 5 minutes using a reverse image search. And
she could replace them.
She did. And she broke 1 wine glass and 3 arrived at my house the other day. I said, hello, Venus.
The power of guilt.
1. Right? I know. So all you needed to do was buy 1. But anyway, maybe I should do that with those candy corn ornaments. They are by far my favorite, and I have never found them since. Because the candy corn ornaments nowadays are plastic, and no. You need to find really good ones. Anyway. The things you talk about when you're drinking beer.
There's a flavor I've never seen in beer. Candy corn beer.
I've
even seen popcorn as a flavor for beer.
Another local brewery that we have that we will definitely be reviewing is Claim 52.
Mm-hmm.
And if any brewery is going to do candy corn flavored beer, it's going to be Claim 52. They should do a Halloween candy.
I'd be surprised if they didn't have it.
They have it. Yeah, we're gonna have to go talk to them.
Because they have cinnamon roll beer. They have lots of their niche is the smoothie beer, and we were just talking about this earlier. Like, how can that be the bulk? But it works, and everybody around here loves Claim 52. I love Claim 52. They have other beers. I mean, they have regular beers, but like I've never, and you can, just like most breweries and tap houses, you can do flights, but I've never had one of their smoothie beers that wasn't like that. I'm like, I'm never drinking that again. It's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good.
Now, I was evacuated in 2020 for a major fire here in Oregon, and Claim 52 had a cinnamon roll. So one of their cinnamon breakfast-based beers at that time, which Claim 52, once it's gone, it's gone. They just keep forging ahead and moving forward and making new flavors. So once they can what they made, it's gone. They never make it again. And it didn't have coffee in it, which was because the next one that replaced it did have coffee. And no, that wasn't for me. But the young person, and I'm sorry, I'm a very old person. So everybody who sells me beer or talks to me about beer is younger than me. So they are a young person. Said, "Oh, have you ever tried it over vanilla ice cream?" I proceeded to gain 10 pounds
because it's
while
good.
being evacuated, because every night I was pouring one can of beer over vanilla ice cream. And that was my coping mechanism for 2 weeks.
You know what I've never done? I've never done the beer float. Like when Not Your Father's beer came out, I always swore that I would do it, and like now you can't get it. But almost like some of these Rhino suits, the flavor would be...
Especially if it's, especially the more breakfast tilted ones tend to... Okay, and we're going to review a beer that is what I call my house beer. So I'm not going to tell you the name of it at this moment, but that beer over ice cream, we'll have to have Merlin on for that, because Merlin, another friend, is the one who had the idea to pour it over vanilla ice cream.
Which is a good idea.
It's so insane.
Now I'm looking at
pouring almost... And the beer has to be dark. It has to be richer. It has to have a very distinct... You can't,
like a root beer float.
Right. You can't pour a lager over ice cream.
So it'd be something like this.
We should try it, and we'll probably not like it. But, at least we should try. We're trying everything. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so in the summer. So stay tuned and continue to watch us. Have we decided how often? We have no idea. This is our inaugural one, which may never make the light of day. But that being said, I don't know.
There might have to be some editing. I don't know.
Once a month or something like that. We're not going to put that many. Well, you never know. There's a lot of beer out there. We alone in this 47 minutes and 34 seconds have come up with 12 more ideas and things we can explore.
Right.
And it's so fun. That's the thing. We're doing it for fun.
Yeah, not for likes, even though we hope people like
it. If you like it, you're one of the exclusive few.
Call it an exclusive club.
Friends drinking beer is so exclusive because they're friends. But that being said, you can be all our friends.
No, but when I was mentioning like ranking the Rhino suits, and you're
right, and I totally interrupted you.
No, that's fine. It's like but you mentioned breakfast, so your tangents kept on bringing me back. So coffee flavor, which I don't like. There's one that she talked about, like coffee with a K. But in the Rhino suit line, they have a breakfast suit. They have a maple. What's the maple? It's maples in the. It sounds like breakfast. Mm-hmm. It's like maple something, and then they have a mocha Rhino suit, and they've released that 2 different times. So there's 2 different iterations of it. So this last one, the most recent one, mocha Rhino suit, I didn't like because there's more coffee flavor than the original one. When the original one came out, people were like, "Oh, Keith, you're not gonna like it because it's based off of a mocha coffee, right?" But when I drank it, I got chocolate because I don't like the flavor of coffee, but I love chocolate. I go, I'm sorry, you guys maybe... Because you could smell the coffee, but I tasted chocolate. So I'm like, It's all about the taste. So I like that. But the one that was more coffee, like, that came out was the breakfast suit. Now, you wouldn't think so because if you looked on the bottle, it said they literally have maple, cinnamon... God, they have like 5 different ingredients: French toast, coffee, and then something else. And everybody's like, "Oh God, it tastes." And you're like, you get all the flavors. And I'm just like, sorry, I love maple, I love cinnamon. I love French toast. But I'm getting all coffee. Yeah. So I could literally rank if we were just rank the rhino suits, I can rank them.
Well, I guess that's your homework. So next time, you need to come with your ranking.
Here's my ranking.
That being said,
that will cause controversy. People are like, I disagree with your list.
That's okay. It's very objective. No, subjective. Very subjective.
Yeah.
And that's another thing we can talk about is, right, once again, you taste one thing, I taste another, smell. Do you consider yourself a super
taster?
Sniffer, snooper,
those people, I guess not. I guess they're like 5% of less of the population. So people are like, I think that's Northern Slope between the hours of 6 a.m. and 12. Like, no. Those people are like, they're pretending to be snobs. Okay. Super tasters are really, really rare.
If anybody is watching this video and you live in Oregon and you know a sommelier who has passed because I think there's 2 or 3 sommelier tests, so a master or something. Oh my gosh, I would love to interview them.
Oh yeah, that would be interesting.
Them about how did this happen? How did you? Because I'm the exact opposite. Like sommelier is 10, I am a 0. I couldn't tell you what the hell I'm tasting, what the hell I'm smelling, other than what I know. And that is actually true. On the tests, they have to know where those grapes were grown and what side, the sunny side, the south side, the west side, whatever. Oh my gosh. I have no idea how you can keep, number one, all that information in your head. And number two,
it's your senses. That's one of your senses. I'm like, you either smell it or you don't. Either you taste it or you don't. I mean, now think about, you're talking about when they had the fire out here. There's some that's just like, okay, what about this grape? And like, tastes kind of smoky. So this must have been 2020. And then somebody going like, how'd you know? Because that year of grapes was laden with more smoke than the state has seen in like 30, 40 years. So it gets that unique smoky flavor.
So you guys are going to get a little history lesson. Oregon coast, and then the Willamette Valley, and the Cascades, and then Eastern Oregon. So 10,000 times out of, the wind blows from the coast up the Cascades. So and the Cascades are very wet because as it's raining right now, and the mountains stop the rain because the clouds have to build up and get over the mountains. So we get a lot of rain in the Willamette Valley, which is what makes it such very wet. And, we're the seed capital of the world, and we grow over 200 crops and Doug firs and the whole bit. Well, that's why fires have a hard time gaining purchase, because it's, number one, so wet, and number two, the wind is blowing from west to east. In 2020, the winds reversed, and they were coming from the east and blowing west. So now if a fire starts on the drier portions and move westward, the winds are blowing so quickly that the fire does spread. And there is a theory and some basis, every 300 to 500 years this occurs, and the forests have burned down because every 300 to 500 years the winds reverse. So 2020, the winds reversed. No, and that's what we witnessed, and that's what we were a part of. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. And drinking beer with friends, you're going to learn all kinds of random crap.
Right. Did you go get that? There's going to be a quiz later. What was the moisture level in 2020? In which direction was the wind flowing?
It was blowing east to west. Let me tell you, I know. I had 2 weeks to learn all about fire ecology when I was not living in this lovely house that I own.
Fire ecology. Should
Seriously,
we wrap it?
We're at 54 minutes. I guess we should.
Call it?
Cheers.
Thank you for listening, watching. Be sure to tell 10 other people, and then they'll tell 10 friends, and then they'll tell 10 friends.
Oh my gosh. Seriously? Wasn't that a commercial? And then they'll tell 10 people. It's probably for perch shampoo or something.
I didn't invent it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for bearing with us. We will be editing this, I believe.
Just a little bit.
But if things are awesome and we start Patreon, the unedited versions could be posted on Patreon.
Adult
Because
version.
if you like us and you want more, oh my God.
Yes, if you want more, tell us.
Please. All right. I'm Lisa.
I'm Keith.
And we're friends drinking beer. Bye.